Hi, I'm Eloise from the Gourmet Cupcake Company in Chelmsford in Essex. I'm going to show you some handy how-tos on icing and decorating cupcakes. So now I'm going to show you how to make pink frosting. The first thing we need is 250 grams of unsalted butter. Your butter really needs to be soft, so if you've just taken it out of the fridge, you'll have to wait a couple of hours until it's room temperature. This is just so it's easier to mix and combine with the icing sugar in the mixer. So I'll put the butter in first. The next thing we need is 500 grams of icing sugar. So this is just normal plain icing sugar, and I'm going to add this to the butter. So I've got a large freestanding mixer here, but if you don't have one of these, you can use any kind of hand whisk using the beater attachments on that. So just put your ingredients in a separate bowl, put your hand blender in with the beater attachments and just mix it up like I'm going to now. These are particularly useful because they have this on the top. So this icing sugar guard helps to keep the ingredients in the bowl. So first of all, I'm going to turn the mixer onto a low speed, and the reason we do this is just to make sure you don't blast all the icing sugar out of the bowl. So we want to mix it on a really low speed until it starts to combine in. And after it starts to combine, then you can turn it up to a higher speed and beat it then for around about 2 to 3 minutes. Just watch it and make sure that it's going really light and fluffy. So I'm going to turn the mixer on now. So as you can see now, it's starting to combine. So this is the point where you can turn the mixer up to a higher speed. And we're going to do that, as I said, for 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so now that's done, you can see the colour slightly paler and the consistency. So now, at this point to the frosting, I'm going to just add some vanilla extract. So for this quantity, I'm going to add a teaspoon. And then put it back in the mixer and mix about again. Step is to add the pink food colouring into the icing. So I'm going to take some out of the bowl and put it into a separate bowl. So if you put however much icing you want to dye pink into this separate bowl and then add the colouring, and we'll mix it about in here. So I'm going to use a very strong paste colouring to dye the icing pink. The reason it's better to use a paste colouring instead of a liquid colouring is because you need far less of it to make the icing the colour that you want. If you're using a liquid colouring, you may need to add too much so that it actually makes the icing runny to get the shade that you were after. So for that reason, try and find paste colourings. And if you try and find a strong paste colouring, it's easier to get a pale pink. So if I add a little bit of this pink, so I'm just going to add a little bit of this pink colouring to the icing using a cocktail stick. So you can see how little I'm using, really just need a very small amount. So if I start using this and I'll mix it in, and you can see the kind of colour that it gets. So they're really strong, these, and already I've got a nice pale pink colour. The thing that you have to remember when you're dyeing buttercream is that initially the butter is a kind of yellowy colour. So when you're adding paste colourings to that, such as pink, if you add a tiny bit at first, you may get sort of a peachy colour because you've got the yellow and the pink mixed together, making the colour peach. So if you get that kind of colour and you just want it a bit more pink, you just need to add a little bit more of the paste colouring. So I'll put a little bit extra in now. The principle is just that the more you add, the brighter the colour you get. So that's how you make pink frosting.